All right, I want to welcome everyone to this meeting of the Clyde Sukeforth chapter of SABR. I'm Bruce McClure, the chapter chair, and we always hold our meetings in conjunction with the Gardner-Waterman chapter of SABR in Vermont, Dr. Clayton Truder, chair. Now, we have a very special guest here tonight, and when she is here, we always ask her to start us off with a poem. So I am going to Joanne Hulbert. You're up.
All right. All right. There's a little twist to it this time, and a little bit of literary education. It's not going to be a tough one, but this is from my file of parody poems, which was a literary art form where you would take a classic poem and fix it up a little bit with some other subject into it. Not so much that you would lose what that original poem was. Actually, that poem is exactly what I have on the scarf right now, but it's really a lot of fun because it's kind of like a little bit of a sleight of hand thing. But anyway, many poems were done during, especially the dead ball era, where you would take a classic poem and turn it on its side with baseball. And this is one of them. And so we'll see how many of you recognize it. So I didn't take an obscure one. I took a pretty obvious one. So, we'll start out easy. Anyway, here it is. Okay. Last night, while I pondered, dreary, grouchy, sore and limp and leery, o'er the dope in my apartments far upon the 13th floor, as I nodded, nearly napping, suddenly there came a tapping, as of someone gently rapping at my chamber door. 'Tis some bill collector, thought I, rapping at my chamber door. Only that and nothing more. Distinctly I remember I was thinking of September and the finish of the league race, what the future had in store, and I had started prophesying where the pennant would be flying, till at last I gave up trying, feeling very sad and sore, grumbling slowly, nevermore. As I sat there near Bug House, longing for a nearby jug house, once again I heard the tapping at my chamber door. So I oped it, shrinking, craven, wishing for some happy haven, when behold, there flapped a raven, stalking in across the floor, stalking Edgar Allan Poe-ish right across my rugless floor. Ach du Lieber, I was sore. Raven, cried I, why the devil have you come here on the level? I thought Mr. Poe had written you would enter nevermore. What has brought you, you intriguer, with that look so keen and eager? Speak up there, you old bush leaguer. Why have you returned, you boar? State your trouble, and then, Skipser, leave me quickly, I implore. Quoth the raven, what's the score?
I'll let somebody else take the guess because
Yeah, okay.
If you've got a guess, raise your hand and unmute.
Or if you really want, you can just write it in the chat.
Or you can just write in chat, whichever you prefer. I'll wait for that to come up for a second. I just pulled mine up. Let's see what happens here. While everybody's tapping it out in the chat, I'll tell you, it was a whirlwind week in Minneapolis. We have a few here that were on the convention floor with me, and I think they will agree that it was a fast-moving week. And I thought it would be nice to come together to talk about what you could expect if you attended a SABR convention, answer any questions about it, and generally talk some baseball. We all re-enter real life after 4 or 5 days of being immersed in nonstop data and baseball and friends and everything else you could possibly think of. Dewey Jones, first one up with it, The Raven by Edgar Allan Poe.
That is correct. It is The Raven by Edgar Allan Poe, and this parody actually was written by Grantland Rice, none other than.
Oh, wow. That's fantastic.
Grantland Rice. Yes, he wrote some of the best darn stuff, whether it was parodies or not.
All right, so Dewey wins kudos for the evening. Dewey, I do not have any prizes for you at all, mainly because I've been off the plane for just about 24 hours, and I barely know my own name at this point. But first, before we really get started, at the SABR closing ceremonies on Saturday night in Minneapolis, SABR CEO Scott Bush recognized nearly 20 chapters whose performance in the past year exceeded SABR's standards. Under the guidance of chapter liaison Pete Cottrell, SABR's 85 chapters began working further to improve their operations by prescribing guidelines for governance, recruitment, research projects, and more. 8 chapters were given the top prize as MVPs in 23-24, and they will receive a $500 cash prize for their efforts. The Babe Ruth chapter in Baltimore, Emil Roth chapter in Chicago, the Jack Graney chapter in Cleveland, the Hank Gowdy chapter in Columbus, Housley Hall, I'll get it right, in Minneapolis, Shot Pelican in New Orleans, the Casey Stengel chapter in New York City, and the Ted Williams chapter in San Diego. 11 chapters were honored as all-star chapters as well. The Rogers Hornsby chapter in Austin, the Central Illinois chapter in Bloomington, Illinois. My friend Dan Evans, the Rocky Mountain chapter in Denver, Colorado, the Larry Durker chapter in Houston, the Pee Wee Reese chapter in Louisville, the Bud Metheny chapter in Norfolk, Virginia, the Dusty Baker chapter, good job, Zach, in Sacramento, the Tampa Bay Roush Lopez chapter in Tampa, the Hanlan's Point chapter in Toronto, the Bob Davis chapter in Washington, and guess what? The Clyde Sukeforth chapter of Maine and New Hampshire. We are all-stars for 24-25. This was a lot of hard work by our board of directors and a lot of great participation by all of you, and we really appreciate it. But now it's on to maybe jumping up one notch and taking it up a level of those MVP chapters. Who knows? All right, second point of discussion I want to talk about, Art Springsteen. Pardon me. Art was a longtime member of SABR. He was a charter member of the Clyde Sukeforth chapter and actually the very first person to sign on during our formation as the Northern New England chapter a couple of years ago. And his membership dated back to, get this, folks, 1974. His love of baseball was immense and it was unmatched. As everyone knows, Art passed away on May 28th. He bequeathed the chapter an incredible number of books and publications to be used for the enjoyment and research by members. Our treasurer, who's on the call tonight, Molly, who has now been bestowed upon the title of chapter librarian as well, has been using her summer vacation to catalog and organize the library, and will be debuting the catalog probably next week. Just we want to iron out a couple of things and how this is going to move forward. We are accepting donations to the library from any members who would like to help expand it in Art's memory. If you'd like to be a part of this unique offering from our chapter, please email me or Molly today. And watch for details because she's going to be showing us how to borrow books and materials probably next week. So, Art, if you're up there and you're listening, they're going to get a lot of enjoyment out of it. Thank you. All right, on we go. Gary has a question in the chat. It says, what does an all chapter need to do to be recognized as an MVP chapter? That I have that written down in my Google Drive, and I keep forgetting to pull it up. I can, if anybody wants to know the differences between the two designations, send me an email or let me know, and I'll send out a little chart that was sent to me by the national board that will show you the difference between and what you have to do to get to that next level. All right. News and notes for membership out there. Is anybody working on any projects? Got anything cool going on? Thoughts, questions about what's going on at SABR? Anything at all? Go down to the bottom and click the react button and hit raise your hand. And you can get in line actually behind Donna Muscarella, who is first. Donna, I'm on mute. Go get him.
Hello, hello.
Hello.
So a few things. First of all, and Bruce, if this is something that you're going to talk about later, let me know and I will defer to you on that. As part of SABR 52, there was a showing of the full-length feature documentary, The Diamond King, about Dick Perez, and it was wonderful. Keep an eye out for, yes, there's the Mr. Perez was the winner of the Jefferson Burdick Award, the 2024 Jefferson Burdick Award, which is given out by the SABR Baseball Cards Research Committee, and that card was designed by Baseball Card Committee co-chair Nick. Oh, Bruce? Why is his last name
Oh my God. I can't
escaping
think
me?
of it. Oh boy.
Yeah.
Nick, if you're watching this, we're sorry.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Okay, this is really embarrassing.
I can't
Okay,
remember my own name.
I'm on.
Donna's only got off the plane an hour and a half.
Yeah.
So
Okay, so he designed that. So he received the award, and which was unfortunately Mr. Perez wasn't able to be there. So it was presented to Mark Evans on his behalf. Mark Evans is the filmmaker. But the point of all that is there was a poster designed by me to commemorate the screening of the film at the convention. There are 5 sneak peek screenings taking place before the movie goes to film festivals. The first was at the National Sports Card Collectors Convention. The second was at SABR 52. The third will be at the Baseball Hall of Fame on September 6th. The fourth will be at the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum, date TBD. And the fifth is going to be some event in conjunction with the Phillies, likely after the season ends. The poster was offered for sale to help with the cost of the film, as well as travel expenses for Mr. Perez and Mark to come to SABR 52. So Dick Perez was supposed to be there, had his boarding pass and had a medical emergency and wasn't able to come. So he's still incurring probably a good portion of those travel expenses. There are still copies of the poster available. Mark will ship them. There you go. If anybody's interested in purchasing one, it is available at the website that you can see up there, thediamondkingmovie.com/shop/SABR poster. There's some other really cool merch available as well. This poster is one of a series of 5. The second one there was designed by an artist who I adore personally and artistically. His name is Scott Hodges. There are still copies of that available, as well as some really cool trading cards and postcards. So if anybody's interested in helping to support the film and Mr. Perez, please take a peek at that website. Everything is absolutely gorgeous. I own everything that's posted up there. I've personally bought everything that's there and can vouch for the quality of it. I've got some other fun stuff coming up too, but I will defer and let other people talk. So
Donna, we are happy to hear it. If you want to,
sure?
Unless you want to keep it a secret.
No, not at all. Not at all. So I am working with the Charles J. Muth Museum at Hinchliffe Stadium to design a couple of things. It's still very early in the project. They are really doing a wonderful job. Jessica Bush, who's the director there at the museum, is doing a wonderful job of seeking out independent artists and getting merchandise for the gift shop to help support artists, some local, some not. I am one of those artists. We are working on a postcard set that will show Hinchliffe Stadium in construction, when it originally opened, some photos of it in ruin and some current day photos. Everything from ruin forward will be my photography. And then there's going to be some individual cards, individual postcards as well that are not in the set. So that's coming up. And then we're also looking at doing a couple of new trading card sets. One that will be my photography of Hinchliffe, and the other that we're hoping to be able to do that's going to shine a spotlight on players, Hall of Famers and otherwise, that have ties to Hinchliffe Stadium. So as all of that happens, you can find out about it on my social media, or if you have any questions, always feel free to reach out to me via email or on social media. And I will let you know about the stuff that's coming up about other artists as well. The museum only opened in April. And so Jessica is really busy trying to work with a bunch of different artists, and hopefully this is going to move pretty quickly. But the museum is run by Montclair State University, so there's a lot of stuff that we have to go through to get to actual production, but it's all in discussion and I'm really excited about it all.
So, Donna, along those lines, seeing as how you've been talking about the things that were offered at the convention, Gary Joquin made a comment in the chat. I'm curious about whether or not the convention hosted a vendor exhibit hall, how many vendor exhibits were present, what types of items were for sale, and whether or not there were author, player, and baseball exec signings. Do you want to comment to that?
Sure.
Please.
There was a large room there that served three purposes. It was the vendor hall. It was the place where the poster research projects from SABR members were on display. And it was kind of a meeting area where they had small tables, some small, some larger tables, where people could meet and hang out and stay out of the hallways and kind of keep things quiet so that all of the presentations that were going on didn't have a lot of background noise. In terms of vendors that were there were a couple of different publishers there. Don't ask me to name them because I honestly don't remember who they were. There was one baseball card dealer there. The International Women's Baseball Center was there, and Mark Evans was there as well. I believe there may have been one individual author there also. It had been posed as an idea that perhaps I should have set up there with my artwork. And I loved the idea and I was flattered by the concept, but then I'm pinned to the table all day, every day, and I'm not out doing what I want to do, networking, socializing, and taking advantage of all the amazing presentations that were there. So there are opportunities for people to sell and kind of hawk their wares, if you will.
I love it. Okay. Well, this is working well. We've got some hands up. Molly, you're up. I should have asked you on mute. I'm sorry.
It's okay. I just thought I would come around at the end and talk a little more about the library. That's all I was trying to get in before I forgot.
Why don't you go ahead right now? Let's talk about the library for a few minutes. Molly wants to talk about the Art Springsteen Memorial Library. And before you go, Molly, Dewey is here as well.
Can you pull up the spreadsheet and share your screen? Because I didn't have mine set. I didn't realize we were doing this tonight, honey.
Go.
So we were lucky enough to see Art and spend about 2 hours with Art and his wife back in May, the end of May. And we received what we now think was about a third of the library. And we then received the other 2/3 of it after Art passed away and Kathy got everything together. I have spent since May categorizing, organizing, and compiling this spreadsheet. And the way I think where it's going to work the most efficient way is if you want to take a book out of the library, to email me directly with the name of the book, as you see Bruce going across the bottom, each tab is labeled with what category the book is under. Dewey, you have your own category.
Why
That
don't
is
you talk a
all
little bit about what Dewey gave us?
Dewey gave us a collection of beautiful scrapbooks that have newspaper clippings from the Boston Globe and Boston Herald, all covering baseball seasons of the Red Sox. And these, I think, would be best served if you want to borrow them from the library. If you are local and driving, it would be easier for you to come. If you are not, it's going to be really expensive to mail it to you. I might have to try and figure out how to scan it to you. There are some things that I've already labeled that cannot be taken out of the library because they are so old and fragile that they will not be taken out of the library. Otherwise, email me directly. I'll list your name and the contact details and when you've taken it out. And if I have to mail it to you, I'll mail it to you. With the understanding that it gets mailed back to us when you're done doing your research. So that is the plan for the library. Does anyone have any questions about it? And obviously, I'm home on the weekends. Bruce is home Monday and Tuesdays. If you want to come to the library, of course you're welcome. You just kind of have to warn us.
If it's early in the morning, bring coffee. Black. Thank you.
I was just thinking that you could put the word out among chapter members to see if anyone has a large format scanner that could help you with that kind of a project.
So my parents are professional photographers and they have a photo club down in Concord. And I haven't inquired with mom and dad yet, but I'm wondering if there is a large format scanner down there. I honestly, so every year before convention happens, something happens in our household. And I didn't go to convention this year, as Donna knows and Joanne knows and the others who were there, because, well,
buckle up, everybody. She's got a story.
Originally it was because, well, Andy knows this too. Originally it was because Ian was here. But
go ahead, Andy, laugh. It's all right. You go right.
About 5 days before convention was destined to start, Ian and I were out gardening in the back, and he was earning his money to go to Hospital Days, which is the carnival on our green. And he loves to garden. And he goes, Mom, I smell something bad. And I was a little stuffed up. I couldn't smell anything. And I'm pulling the weeds, and all of a sudden I get a whiff of sewage. And it's coming out of the pipe from our sub pump in the basement. And it's dumping right into the back garden where my beautiful lilac bushes are. So I called Dad and Mom, come over. And then I proceed to tell the landlord. And Bruce is at work and his phone is blowing up. And now we are no longer able to use our toilets. We can run water. We can take showers. Can't use the toilets. Thankfully, Hospital Days is happening. So there's porta potties on the green. Or, you know, Mom and Dad's or the Evans Mart. You know, we got choices. So we come to, I think, Tuesday. I think it was Tuesday.
We're recording this, Molly.
I know. Long story short, the plumbing right now sort of works. It sort of works. We will be having an excavator coming to visit us in the next day or two that will be excavating our sewer line out to the road, and I probably will be losing my gardens, which really stinks.
And yeah, Joe, you're up.
Gardens.
Got to get out of this one.
Gardens come back. Before I go any further, I got to tell you, you got a pencil handy?
I got a pen.
Close enough. Your name is Bruce. Bruce. Just in case you can't remember it, I'm just trying to help.
Well, I didn't hit my head when I fell over, so yeah.
Molly, I just wanted to know whether I should be offering you congratulations or commiserations on your new job.
I honestly am loving it. At school, I was also trained to be a backup substitute school librarian. Because our school is so little. So yeah, I just rolled with it. It's enjoyable. I'm gonna go get the paint sticks and put them in to like separate the shelves, like where the books are, over at the hardware store in the next week.
Oh, good. The other
Yeah.
thing that I wanted to mention or ask, because it's much more serious than what I've already said, Bruce, is there some document that's around that gives the application, pricing, and all that sort of stuff for exhibiting at the convention?
I'm going to get to some of the convention details in a minute, and I'll be able to direct you to the right person for that. So I can
Okay,
do that for you.
And all the advertising that comes out over the convention itself, I would think that somewhere there should be something on that website or on those emails that says, if you want to exhibit, click here and get another page. So if you don't have, obviously that doesn't exist now, but you might want to suggest that to National.
Send me an email directly on that. I'm going to get you to the right person if you want to become an exhibitor for next year. Donna has saved us from the baseball card committee's wrath. Nick Vosbrink, you're the man. I want to go to the legendary, don't tell me you're not, Dick Kramer, who has something to add for us as well. Dick, you're up.
Yes, as you may remember, I think a lot of you saw when actually it was embarrassing because I didn't have the time right, but Bruce showed off this app that what it does is lets you look at the play-by-play for any courtesy of Retrosheet, look at any major league game. But of course, most people don't know it exists. So on the last day of the convention, taking advantage of that exhibition hall that Donna mentioned, I said, well, I'll just take my laptop and get down there and sit at one of the tables. It was a big room. And I will, oh yeah, that's actually, we could go ahead and do what I was doing. It was really fun because people were we got lots of discussions, lots of people were looking up teams or particular games they wanted to see. For example, maybe the most interesting was somebody asked me to see the Negro League 1933 All-Star game. And I said, oh, I'm not sure, we'll go ahead and give it a try, but it worked perfectly. Another one was somebody wanted to see Gabby Hartnett's home run in 1938, the one, they brought the Cubs into the World Series. We looked at that game, and a lot of them were more personal. Oh, somebody wanted to see part of the Phillies losing streak in 1964, a game they'd attended. That was a little painful. I was since I'm a Phillies fan, but I actually didn't see that game because so I now know the play-by-play of this 14-8 game in which Johnny Callison hit 3 home runs to no effect. Yeah, there you go. That'll work. You don't need to, but yeah, that'll work. Okay, there we are. You're perfect, Bruce. So go to game page and we'll have a look. Let's see. Papa Bell did not get any hits. I recall we sort of there was a lot of rooting for see this guy or that guy. It was great fun. But the nice thing about it was how it triggered lots of conversations. The way this happened was I just go and ask somebody you want to see. After a while, I felt confident saying, "Do you want to see something really cool?" And since everybody was saying they thought it was really cool, and it was, I spent the entire. I didn't at that point. I just said, next year, I think I'll make a stack of papers with just one sheet or saying, and just lay that in the table in the exhibition room. Of course, I'm not going to, I don't feel I should be paying for anything because this is free. This is a resource for anybody to use just by doing as Bruce did, just typing in the URL and going there and looking up a game. A lot of people were, of course, interested in the first game that they remembered. I must have shown around 20 games during that day and had lots of great conversations with different people. Everybody'd start out by talking about, well, this is my game, and I remember like my dad took me and all the circumstances. It was a very enjoyable experience. So the game is over.
Yep. Donna says that roster. Yeah, she's not kidding. That's for sure. There were some names out there, huh, Donna? Yeah, she's like, yeah. So that app has been in development for a while now. We're starting to see it really come into its own, and it's really a great thing. And I think Dick has just added to his resume of the fantastic things that he's done for this organization. So Dick, we appreciate you sharing that. Thank you very much.
Thanks for listening.
So here we are. We are in the first week after the convention. And I've got several people on the call who have been to a to the last one. Has anybody here not ever been to a convention? Is there anybody here? So I've got a few hands that are raised that have never been to a convention. Evan's hand is up. I don't know if that, so he just, there you go. So I get frequently in my email, pardon me just a minute, my eye is itching just a little bit. I apologize. I get a lot of questions in my email in the lead up to the convention. What goes on at a convention? And I feel as though that a SABR convention is atypical of any other big giant convention in the world today. You know, I don't know, the American automakers of, I don't know, something or other, or whatever, whatever convention you can think of. Because first off, it's not as big. We had approximately 600 people with us at the Hyatt in Minneapolis, which was a rather good size convention, not the biggest one we've ever had, but it was a rather good size convention. The other thing that you see is there is an awful lot more of that camaraderie and, oh my goodness, I haven't seen you in ages, and oh boy, look who's here, and things like that, because everyone seems to know everybody. It's kind of like kind of like the town I live in. It's a small town and everybody knows everybody. What we did with the convention this time around is that we packed it in to keep things moving and to allow for a little bit less dead time, which I'm not sure whether it was bad or good, but we started off Wednesday afternoon at about 1. And registration took place then. That went on till about 7 o'clock. And by about 6 o'clock, a large majority of the population had arrived. We started with the opening ceremonies, which is something new as opposed to just kind of getting started and jumping in with both feet. We had formal opening and closing ceremonies so that people could get together and see each other. I got the chance to hang out with Andy Heckroth, who I caught up with after the chapter leaders meeting. Andy, hit that unmuting button, bro.
It was good, everybody. I got to catch up with Bruce and talk about life and get back into SABR. So that was fun.
So tell me, Andy, how was the food? How was your dinner?
It was interesting. It was good, but interesting, but I got through with it. But it's worth a lot of money if we're talking about the money at the hotel. At least, the very least, it was actually good. It was actually good food, and the people were super nice. I don't anticipate in my time going to these conventions or any hotel paying $24, $25 for breakfast. So I'm
that
going to
was-
leave
yeah.
that. So I'll leave, you know, and that was not, that didn't include the taxes and stuff, but
I thought the venue was very disappointing generally. It's usually not that bad. I think that was a real, I've been to an awful lot of these, and I thought it was, from that point of view, it was not good. The venue, that venue, it's not typical.
So yeah, the
Okay.
menu for breakfast was actually a little bit on the expensive side. I ate outside of the venue when I did so, and I heard that a lot from everybody. We had a dinner that was catered by the hotel for us at the opening ceremonies, which people seemed to love. It was well attended, so that room was a little bit small, but we did have a good time. We all communed at the Church of Baseball. Some nice opening remarks from our CEO Scott Bush. Gave away a few awards, and we had our dinner and a really great social time to see people, get geared up, and then next day off we go with presentations. And this goes for 3 days for presentations. We had an unusual event this time because of where the venue was. We were able to take in not one but two games this time around. We got to go to St. Paul, Minnesota to see the Saints play. Scott Bush used to be in the front office of the St. Paul Saints when they were an independent league team, if I recall correctly. And that ballpark is fun and very attractive, and the crowds are really nice. Everybody is Minnesota nice, but the crowds are big. And they're raucous, and they were having a good time, and they were rooting for the home team. And good stuff. Good stuff. Lots of great panels. We got to see Tony Oliva, Rod Carew, Bert Blyleven, Jim Cott, Glenn Perkins, LaTroy Hawkins. We had those two panels were fantastic. Think of something when it comes to baseball, and we talked about it. Baseball cards, the comparison between whether a leadoff walk or a leadoff single is better to kick off an inning. Poster presentations. Let's see what else. Why Jim Cott should have won, I believe, was the 1964 Cy Young Award by Steve Krabesky. I missed that one. A presentation on the Montreal Expos was given by Max Cates, who is going to be giving that to us in the next few weeks. If you go to SABR.com and click the convention button on the top right of the screen, you'll see where you can still see the list of presenters that were available to you at SABR 52. And many of them are going to be presenting to us over the next weeks to come. To answer Gary's question in the chat, did the SABR conference have an opening and closing torch ceremony? We did check with the fire department in Minneapolis. They asked us gently not to have a torch ceremony inside. I believe the comment was, "Dear God, don't do that." There's nobody in this organization should take me seriously. Why don't I even take myself seriously? What Molly's shaking her head no, because she knows I'm right. What we should have done, and I'm going to suggest this to everybody at National for next year, is that we should have a ceremonial passing of the baseball card. That I think would be easy and a lot less dangerous than a torch inside a hotel. I mean, somebody's got a better idea. I'm all ears. So, does anybody who's not been to a convention, do you guys have questions about what goes on or your experience or what you can do when you're with us at one of our national conventions? I was hoping that I could answer anything that might come up now that we've just gotten done with 52. Well, I'll tell you this, 53 was announced at the opening ceremony, and it had been rumored to be in a certain place for an awfully long time. And Scott Bush confirmed the rumors for us. Saber 53 will be in Dallas, Fort Worth. It will be taking place earlier than usual. The last week in June of 2025 will all be in Dallas, Fort Worth at not a Hyatt, at the Wyndham DFW Airport. And I'm going to show you a little bit about that hotel now, because I'm encouraged by the way it looks. This is the venue for Saber 53. It's a very bright and airy venue, very high ceilings, very modern hotel. Look at that indoor pool. There's a hot tub over here. The indoor pool is here. But wait, there's more. These are the guest rooms. I think this is going to be a very fine, comfortable convention for everyone that will be a lot, in my opinion, a lot brighter than Saber 52 was. Everyone enjoyed it. But when I got a chance to see this hotel, I was very encouraged, and I thought it was a great choice to hold the convention. I'm told by the members of the local chapter down there that it will be the outdoor pool, that it is away from downtown considerably. If you want to go into downtown, you're probably going to have to rent a car. And more than likely, if I recall correctly, we will have to be bussed over to the Rangers' new ballpark in order to watch the game. They have a nice weight room. This is their restaurant. A nice courtyard. We'll skip over the washing machines and the vans. That's where some of the presentation rooms would be, things like that. I'm very encouraged by the venue. I think it's going to be nice. For what it's worth, I did look into pricing for a regular rate on a room in this venue, and I found that it is less expensive than Minneapolis, so I think that's going to be a nice thing as well. Joe.
I've never been to a Saber convention, but I have
Why
been.
not?
I haven't been a member long enough, first of all. But I have been to other conventions. And one of the things that I know from other conventions is, as a general rule, especially if you're going to a hotel, breakfast and or lunch ought to be included in the price. It's expensive anyway, as most conventions are. Excuse me. I understand. Hang on while I die.
Oh dear.
Excuse me. I understand extra charges when you're going to the games, kind of thing, or even an extra charge if you're going to the big event, which would be a major dinner kind of thing. But I think breakfast and lunch ought to be part of the package all the time. If I walked in and they said breakfast was $24, I might be willing to go home.
So that was brought up to me several times on the convention floor. I was, okay, arrogantly, the guy in front of you said, I was mobbed at convention when I got there. And it really didn't stop until I left. I had meeting after meeting and talk after talk, and had a great time. If any of you who grabbed me at the convention are watching, I'm not complaining. Don't get me wrong, but goodness, I haven't been that busy in years, and I heard that a lot. Gary Joquin has a question in the chat: how many Saber members attend the conference? If I am right, it was approximately 600 attended Minneapolis. That is a rather average crowd these days, I think. Donna Muscarella's got her hand up. Maybe you can correct me, Donna.
Well, I was going to say, I was going to address the comment about the meals, but
Go.
it was the actual number for this convention was 590. I went to the closing board meeting, so I heard the number,
Oh, it
but
wasn't off by much.
they didn't know you weren't, but they didn't break it down because you don't have to be a member to attend the SABR convention.
Correct.
So I did not ask for, and I'm sure they have the statistics about how many of those people are actual SABR members and how many are not.
I am not sure. They just, as far as I know, we just count attendees.
Okay, so it's 590.
So which is fantastic. That's great for it. It was actually supposed to be, from what I was told, it was supposed to be in Dallas this year, but they could not give us their full attention due to holding the All-Star game. A member of the Rangers front office, whose name I can't remember, which is becoming a theme lately, probably due to lack of sleep, but a member of the Rangers front office is a member of SABR and has told us that they're going to be working very closely with us on this convention. So that's a real positive for next year. Does anybody have any questions about a convention experience or any of the events that SABR might have? Because we do have other little mini conventions, for lack of a better term, across the year, with the Malloy Conference, the Women in Baseball Conference, things like that.
Mm-hmm. I do have one thing to add that happened at the convention, and it has to do with the Baseball Arts Committee, which we debuted. It had just been out a couple of weeks, but it is the latest edition. This is Turnstile 4, also known shortly as T4, which is the literary journal put out by SABR members. We try to do it once a year, but it hasn't quite worked out that well because of publishing delays. But what this is it is a journal of creative fiction, memoir, poetry, and art. Now, the thing is that, for instance, because we were chiding him through most of the convention and everything, but Jason Swartz does a lot on the baseball cards. All right. Now, as you can see in this book, this is black and white, but due to the wonderful, generous SABR Publications department, you can get and download a copy right off of sabr.org, which does include everything in color. So if you do go for the paper copy, you can also back it up and augment it with a copy from sabr.org, which has all of the color, which would be inside. This is very typical of all SABR publications. Now, we are starting to gather in submissions. You could send them to me or Jay Hurd. We are listed all over sabr.org. And if you want to write something up, you can submit it. As far as what everybody asks is, what is the deadline? Well, we will say that it is June 1st, or if we reach and almost succeed in the number of pages that will be allowed by the publishing department, which is about, give or take, 100 pages. And that is the size. And I asked Cecilia Tan, who is in the publishing part of SABR, what would happen if we send you like 300 pages? And she said, well, could not do it because it would cost you a heck of a lot of money, like, $20, $30 for a copy like that. And that's why we keep it at about 100 pages. But you can get a copy right off of sabr.org. And see, look at that. You can get full color pictures in all of this.
Right off my Kindle app.
Right off there. There you go. And it is great reading. What we are looking for, just basically we're looking for anything to do with baseball. We are very light on the editing part of it. If it works, we'll pick it up and put it in. So consider that 1,500 words or less. We will take photos, but you must realize that we also cannot do it in color in the book. But we will be starting the number 5. We have already received about, I think we're up to 6 or 8. I think it's probably 8 by now. Submissions so far. So better get in while the getting is good.
And I believe my wife sent you an email. So check your email when we're
Yes,
done
I
tonight.
think yep, I saw
Good.
that over here. She may be
Good.
the number 8 one so far.
Oh, good. There we go. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's terrific. Will says SABR does a fantastic job with their ebooks. And once again, Will is spot on. That has to do with the publishing team here at SABR, and it second to none. Second to none. You get to download all of this material for free. How cool is that? Gary has another question in the chat, and Joe, I'll get to you in a second, but Gary has another question in the chat. Is anyone in this meeting working on a SABR research project? So I'm just going to throw that one out there. Is anybody working on any research or ideas for research right now? Bob Holt.
Hello. I'm trying to gather collegiate summer league baseball stats, histories, tying the players both to their colleges and to potential major league appearances. I haven't been able to find a repository that includes everything. Each league sort of keeps their own separate stats, and as leagues go defunct, those stats disappear. So I'm trying to find as much as I can and put it all in one place. And yeah, that's what I've been kind of working on in my spare time.
Bob, have you reached out to Adam at Baseball Reference?
I have not.
Okay,
Dorowski?
so yeah, Adam Dorowski.
I haven't reached out to him about this specifically now.
I'm going to direct you to him because he is all-knowing in this realm and might be able to help you. He is a SABR member. I shook his hand several times at the convention, so I'm sure he would be happy to help you out and give you some direction. If he doesn't have it, I'm sure he knows of a place that just might. So I take a shot at that.
Okay. Yeah. Our kids used to go to school together, so I'll reach out to him.
Fantastic. That's fantastic. Joe.
A couple of things. First, I want to mention for Bob, you're talking about a massive book. If you want to put the college stuff in a book, I know the book I did on the nicknames was over 400 pages, and I didn't mention anything about colleges. It was strictly major league players and where they played and when and their nicknames, and it was over 400 pages. So you're talking about a massive undertaking if you want to add college information. The other thing, Joanne, I don't believe the 300-page book of 6x9 paperback can be $30.
Well,
That
that's
might
what they
be the
told me.
retail, but it sure in the heck is not wholesale.
Right. No, that we were quoted that in order to keep it in the $10 to $12 range, it would have to stay at 100 pages thereabouts.
Well,
That's
$10 to $12 range, maybe.
Yes.
But I know I've published books and they don't come anywhere near a
Mhm.
cost of $30 for 300 pages.
I was in the room when Cecilia gave that quote.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yep. Yeah. You and I talked about that. Yeah.
It's for short run also, that
Right,
that
that's the thing.
to it too and all
What's
that.
the
that's what-
press
yeah.
run?
It's pretty much print on demand, through SABR, but you can also get it via Amazon as well.
What's the initial press run though? Do you know?
Don't know. No, don't know.
Not sure. Yeah, not sure.
Are we talking 100? Are we talking 250 or 500?
No, it is among
We don't know.
the most, it is considered a bestseller within the realm of SABR. So there you go.
So, Joanne, what you're telling me is that you are on the SABR bestseller list perpetually.
Well, me, not myself, but in other words, Turnstile is on
I'm
the
impressed.
bestseller list for SABR. Yes. I don't know whether we're running 1 or 2 or 3 or whatever, but I guess we're up there.
Evan.
Yeah.
Evan, go get him.
Yeah, so Bruce failed to neglected to inform everybody that while he was at the SABR convention, we had to take a week off from the podcast that we've been collaborating on. I don't know, Bruce, if this is considered SABR research or not, but earlier this year, I was the pitching coach for the Roswell Invaders of the Independent Pecos League. I had to leave the season early because of a family illness in one of our family members that needed attending to. But Bruce graciously extended the podcast, which started me reporting from Roswell, New Mexico, and the Roswell Invaders. And I don't know, Bruce, if we consider this baseball research or not, but we are now have done 11 episodes interviewing players, host families, coaches, and veterans and rookies. And we've got 1 or 2 more episodes to go. The podcast is called Baseball's Last Frontier. Bruce has spread it about the podcast world. I think if you Google Baseball's Last Frontier Pecos League, you'll get about 6 or 8 places you can listen. For Northern New England SABR people and Vermont people, if you want to ride, you need about 35 or 40 minutes to entertain you. We think our podcast is a great example of baseball research by SABR into the Pecos League. We think you'll find it really, really interesting.
Some of the conversations that we've had with some of the people connected with the Pecos League are fun, surprising, informative. They twist and turn a little bit too, but I've enjoyed learning a little bit about a league that I knew nothing of when we started. And Evan, any chance of you going back down to the Pecos League next year?
It's possible. It's possible. But the Pecos League, for those of you, a lot of you are familiar with independent baseball beyond the affiliated teams. And there's a number of very well-known independent leagues, American Association, Atlantic League. The Pecos League is the lowest level of independent baseball. So you get some wild stories, and you also have some very hungry, committed ball players. And we tried to capture both in about 35 or 40 minutes a week. And we've got 1 more episode to record, maybe 2 more. And it's been really, really exciting. And I want to thank Bruce for extending his SABR world to the world of podcasting.
It's been a lot of fun, Evan. I've appreciated the opportunity to do it. And springboarding off of that, one question in the chat, Donna says, any thoughts on expanding that to interviews with players, host families, et cetera, from other leagues? And frankly, no, to be honest with you, because Evan was so intricately entwined, there I said it, with the Pecos League, that we really didn't think about expanding that to the to other leagues. Who knows? Maybe it might be something over time, but I'd have to think about how I'm going to make the contacts to do that first. But go ahead.
There may be some out there. Bruce and I were lucky enough to get promoted on a website called Independent Baseball. I think that's the name of it, and it's the gateway to all levels of independent baseball. And there's more independent teams and more stuff about non-affiliated baseball than you could ever imagine. I didn't even know there were trivia questions about independent baseball, but this site has them. So
right, I saw that. I'm like, really? Wow. You know what? I should have grabbed a couple of those questions, because when I was at the bar in Minneapolis with some of the guys that I was hanging around with, I probably could have won a bet or two. But along the lines of podcasting or non-video content, I was having conversations with several people at the convention. One of the things that was brought up was getting together and doing interviews with some of the longtime SABR members who have attended an enormous number of conventions, like Tom Zacco, who has attended, 49 conventions, Donna? Something like that. Yeah. Dick has been to a number.
35.
How many?
35. There was actually, I organized one in Philadelphia in 1974. Fred Leave, I drove him to the site. There were about 30 people there, and I tried the first trivia contest and all, and it was not well received. That was not for, we were serious researchers. This trivia business we're not interested in. But it was a big hunk of my baseball experience when a company called Stats Inc. was coming to life, and that kept me pretty busy for about 10 or 12 years. But it was a trivia contest that brought me back into SABR, and that, of course, I haven't left since. But I'm about 35 in all, I think.
So that was something that was brought up to me by a few people, is maybe taking the list that has been put out of those who have attended a large number of conventions and to begin a bit of an oral history project with them. And it's kind of in the germinating stage right now, thinking about how I want to do it. But I'm hoping to get some backup from several of our members nationally in an effort to maybe put in touch with people, or to figure out just how to structure the interviews so that they move along and they don't bog down, things like that. So who knows? But it's an idea. It sounds like it would be an interesting idea. I think I'd have to connect it with the oral history committee to see as if it would be something that would be interesting. But who knows? It's in my wheelhouse. Evan has shown me that we're good at this, and hopefully we're going to keep it up. So moving on from that, let's talk some baseball for a few minutes. I hesitate to bring it up, but we're in New England for the most part. Let's talk about what happened yesterday at Fenway. Jarren Duran has been suspended for 2 games by the Red Sox for, I'm just going to put it this way, saying something he shouldn't have said. He got picked up on a hot mic, and I think it was his last at bat. And he's out there saying all the right things, but who has seen this in the paper, and what was your first inclination when you read it? I'm interested to hear some learned opinions on the matter, if anybody has one.
I read it in the paper.
Say that again, Joe.
I read it online, and
Okay.
Like everybody else, my first reaction was that you got to be an idiot to say that kind of thing, and you have to be a bigger idiot to argue with a fan in the first place if you're a player. There are too many instances, I think, of what do they call it? Rabbit ears. Players should not be listening to fans yelling at them. That's what the fans are paying for. But to make a comment like his, I think he got off easy with the suspension he got.
In this day and age, it bothered me to hear that this kid so easily uttered that, but I'm also understanding of the fact that's a poor choice of words, but it's all I've got, that more than likely, and somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, this is in the common vernacular of a lot of athletes today. Am I wrong? Can anybody speak to that?
It was the common vernacular of many of my classmates when I was in high school.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, same here. Same here. Interesting little happening. I'm going to be fascinated to see how this moves forward. I was watching WBZ today, their news, and they interviewed a few fans right outside of Fenway walking around who were pretty evenly split on opinions in the matter. Evan.
Well, I just spent 3 weeks in Roswell, New Mexico with the Roswell Invaders as a member of the team staff. And all I can say is that these are guys in their 20s. And
Mhm.
I think we all know, I think this is somewhat of an older crowd. I think that time, makes people think about things and things that they would have or could have or should have done when they were a little bit younger. And I think you're right, Joe, that, he shouldn't have and all that. But I think we just have to realize, these are still relatively young men under in very high pressure situations. I think that sometimes the clubhouse culture or people's peer groups can promote that kind of stuff. And I just think it may be just an unfortunate reality. And I think that education and is the best way to try to avoid these kind of things.
Yep.
But I think
agree.
you also have to know when there's a mic nearby. Broadcaster point of view, if there's a mic there, you have to realize you're talking to a lot of people you may not want to talk to.
Shouldn't matter whether or not there's a mic there. There's
No,
some
it shouldn't.
things that just shouldn't be said.
Absolutely,
think-
I agree.
Gary Joquin, I'm going to jump in the Gary's had his hand up for a minute. Gary, go ahead.
Yeah, I think that all of the recommendations for having better judgment and wisdom are valid. Of course, I am reminded of Yastrzemski solving his own left field booze problem by removing large wads of cotton from his ears and getting a standing ovation for doing that. And then there was a Ted Williams story that I vaguely remember from one of the books I've read about him. He was, despite having incredible focus as a hitter, he was really known for having rabbit ears.
Yep.
And one time at the plate, there was a real foghorn in the stands down the left field line. And so Williams could handle this particular pitcher very well. So he just took aim at him and aimed 6 or 7 foul balls down the left field line, trying to hit him.
Yeah.
And he eventually missed, and one of his balls fell fair, and he barely made it to first base.
It's an unfortunate part of the game that rabbit ears come up, and I was interested to see our learned community's thoughts on the matter. But did anybody see who the Blue Jays called up today? I am getting on in years, and that is not demonstrated by the fact that I threw myself on the ground and snapped my leg in a couple of spots a few months ago. But Will Wagner was called up by the Blue Jays today. I think Donna shook her head. She knew who I was talking about there. That's Billy Wagner's son. Billy Wagner, who has been on the Hall of Fame ballot for far too long, should be in already. He was acquired at the deadline from Houston, which blows my mind that they would give up on this kid, seeing as how he was hitting 297 in 4 minor league seasons. And at AAA this year, he's slashing 315, 432, 444. He's having a pretty decent campaign. I was surprised that they moved him. I don't know. Did Houston need pitching that bad? I found it interesting that they traded him for UC Kikuchi. So
I know you expect me to say it, but it sounds an awfully lot like it was the Red Sox that traded him to somebody else.
oof. Here we go. For those of you who don't know, Joe has a real problem with the Red Sox. I'm assuming that a member of the Red Sox sometime when he was young ate his lunch or pulled his hair or something. I'm not sure, but there's something going on.
Anybody who's any good, obviously there are exceptions. I mean, Yastrzemski's an exception. Ted Williams was an exception. But generally speaking, you look at all the good players from all the other teams, they were probably on the Red Sox at one point.
Hey, Dewey, how do you think the Red Sox are going to finish this season?
Yeah, it play 500 ball from here on out, it'll be a success. I don't think they're going to play 500 ball, though. I think it'll probably be close to that, but I think they're going to struggle a little bit from this thing with Durant going on. I think unsettles the ball club a little bit. When Cassis comes back, I would release him. I think bombs there or down at least. So I'm not sure what's going to go on with the Sox from this point on. I think it's been a success up to this point.
Yeah, they're playing with house money at this point because nobody thought they were going to be anywhere near a wild card berth, and they've been sniffing at it for a long time. Dewey was talking about how he thought that the situation with Durant could be a distraction. For those of you who might have seen him break up on the screen, he was talking about how Durant might have been a distraction, and that Cassis comes back very soon to hopefully give the ball club a spark. But did they lose Paxson to a leg injury this weekend?
Yes.
Yeah.
So that could be a blow as well. Dick, you're up. Go.
Oh yeah, back to Duran. I think to me this sort of neutral as far as the Red Sox are concerned. It seems to me it's Duran. They make a big example of Duran because they want to make it very clear to the rest of the baseball community not to do this, since it is a tendency of, as we agree, of youth to be more expressive, but you also want to have an event that people are comfortable coming to.
That was one of the things that was discussed on BZ today, was how this was going to be reacted to by different communities in the city of Boston. So I'm going to be very interested to see how that hits the club going forward. But Andy, let's talk about your Cardinals for a minute. You there, my friend? I put him on the spot.
Yeah.
There he is.
Yeah.
Go.
Yep, I'm here. There was something that happened. I know when I first tried to join, there was a power surge or something happened. So it's been some internet issues. But yeah, about the Cardinals.
Go.
So the Cardinals, from who I've talked to with friends who I've blogged with, we've been excited with trading for Eric Fetty and getting Tommy Pham back, bringing that energy. This month right now has been disappointing, dropping 3 or 4 at Wrigley Field. The Tampa Bay winning a series against Tampa Bay it was good. I wish we could have taken both games at Kauffman. I should note right now that they are down 6-1, and Oliver Marmol was ejected from the ball game at Cincinnati. The unfortunate problem is that the Cardinals are good, but they're not good enough, and we don't. And I don't know what the projection is going to be going forward with the Brewers being ahead by the number of games they are. And I should note that Chicago has the Cubs are turning it around, going 8-2. They are down 4-3 right now at Cleveland. Right now we're just frustrated because we thought this team would be better, and in fairness, they are better than what they were from 2023, but they're not an elite team like the Phillies and the Dodgers.
Ryan, I see that hat you're wearing. I'm going to have you on mute for just a second because I'm going to commiserate with you for just a minute.
Sure.
I'm assuming you're a White Sox fan.
I'm a fan of all baseball, but this is the 83.
Yep.
Yeah, the 1983 White Sox, and I think they lost out to the Orioles by 1 game.
Yeah.
During the American League Championship Series, and I remember that World Series, and looking back on it, I just don't know how the Orioles could beat the Phillies, because the Phillies had 5 future Hall of Famers and Pete Rose. Yep. What I'm really kind of curious about is, did Pete Rose, was he benched during the NL Championship Series?
I believe he was. If I recall correctly from Keith O'Brien's book, he speaks of Rose getting benched in that series. I'm going to have to go back and read it.
Yes,
don't
in
mind it.
'81, I remember it personally quite well. I was very happy to see Rose benched. He was not helping, and I mean Pete was at that point he's below average. He didn't have any power, and he wasn't hitting for average. He's never a very good fielder except in the outfield. At the time, I was very happy to see him benched. Not that they had great alternatives. Tony Perez played first instead at that time. 83, I'm sorry, not 81, 83. No, 81, yes.
Yeah.
That was the play, yes.
He was probably also way too consumed with his numbers at that point, but that's another story.
Not only at that point, there's this recent biography of Rose is a great book.
Keith O'Brien's book.
Is that I don't remember.
Charlie Hustle?
Charlie Hustle. Yep. Yeah, that's a terrific book.
That was written by Keith O'Brien. Keith is a member of our chapter, Dick, and that book is fantastic. And I believe it is also mentioned in the new documentary that's on Max about Pete Rose. So yeah, it's a really good book. You're right. Gary Joklin did put a link in the chat to the article that I was looking for about James Paxton with the right calf strain. I read in the Boston Globe today where they're talking about this could be an extended stay on the DL for him. If that happens, that's going to be a problem for the Red Sox going on. But I want to go to Donna Muscarella because Donna's like, what I do?
What
I do? I didn't do nothing. I'm just
I'm
standing
here.
here.
I'm here.
Present. I'm here. Okay. So, so Donna, you're chasing my Orioles for the American League East crown. I personally don't think you're going to catch us, but then I look at the state of our starting rotation with my Orioles and I start to cringe. What's your feeling on the Yankees going into mid-August into September?
Our pitching worries me. Cole isn't Cole. The rest of the staff, the rest of the starting staff that was carrying this team while Cole was out hasn't been phenomenal. Clay Holmes seems to have lost whatever it was he had. And I mean, it was the game yesterday that they had an 8-1 lead and they ended up winning 8-7. And Soto and Judge can't carry this team if the pitching can't hold the other team. So I tend to agree with you that the Yankees will not surpass the Orioles. But the Orioles have been shaky at times too.
Oh yeah.
I mean, the Yankees went on that horrible stretch and the Orioles should have been way out ahead and it's still really close. So,
Judge seems to be having a better season this year than he did last year.
You're not kidding. I mean, he is just so much fun to watch.
Right.
I'm so glad he's a Yankee because he's a good guy. And I always like to root for the good guys. And I'm just glad he's wearing my uniform or my team's uniform.
Well, I'm not, but
he's sorry.
Still a good guy to watch.
Yeah, I mean, you look, it's good for the game. It's and what I love about him is that he's not just hitting for power.
Right. I agree.
Because I just can't stand, all about of the home run and nothing else matters.
What are the odds of Soto remaining with the Yankees after this year?
Oh, good question.
Yeah, that's a really good question. And I think nobody knows what's in his head, right? Boris is his agent and Boris trains his guys on what to say and what not to say. And I mean, having seen him in person at Yankee Stadium, so not just seeing what's on camera, you could tell he genuinely loves being there. He's thriving in the environment. The fans adore him. The bleacher creatures out in right field have a blast with him, as does he with them. It's just a great environment for him. But what it boils down to is look, whatever amount of money the Yankees offer him is going to be legacy money for him. He's not going to need anything more than that. So it boils down to, are you going for top dollar, which the Yankees may offer? We don't know. Or are you going to go someplace where you're already happy, thrilled, comfortable at every level? Playing with Aaron Judge, they clearly have a great chemistry. I don't know what's in his head. And I also don't know, are the Steinbrenners going to get stupid and try and go on the cheap and insult him? And he's going to be like, you know what? Don't disrespect me like that. I have no idea. And I mean, I'm not a Boris fan, so I just hope that Boris doesn't pollute Soto's mind and convince him that even if the Yankees don't offer top dollar, that he shouldn't stay there.
So if the Yankees don't make it to the World Series this year, does Boone go? Does Cashman go? What do you think?
I think Cashman should have been gone a while ago, but I don't think the Steinbrenners will touch him.
Okay.
I do think that there's a chance that Boone will go, but quite honestly, I don't think it's Boone's fault. I mean, Boone is nothing but a puppet, as are most major league managers these days. That's not a slam on Boone.
It's a good point.
The front office is who's calling the shots. So all they need is somebody who's going to sit there and take orders. But they may make Boone the fall guy when really it's their own faults.
What do we got? 6 weeks of the regular season left. Doesn't seem possible, does it? Seems like we just started this.
It's crazy.
Oh, man. But so anybody got any last licks on baseball and what they feel is coming up over the last 6 weeks of the season?
Last 6 weeks of baseball in Oakland.
Oh yeah. 6. Well, okay. So, and I think you and I talked about this in Minneapolis. 6 weeks of baseball in Oakland left for now. But if I'm thinking they don't get to Vegas, and I'm not so sure that they last in Sacramento. But the problem now is, I don't know if anybody saw this today. Apparently a soccer team has signed a lease. Ladies and gentlemen, Gus the Sabercat has made it onto Molly's screen. If you are watching this on gallery mode, everything is fine. Gus is back. But I understand that a soccer team has signed a lease to be the primary tenant of the Oakland Coliseum when the A's leave. And there are supposed to be, believe it or not, renovations in the building. If you can renovate, I don't know. I don't think they ever get to Vegas. I'm not so sure they ever leave Sacramento. I think I think there's something going on where they either stay in Sacramento or possibly return to Oakland.
Stay in Sacramento as in play in a minor league park permanently?
As in, I think what you're going to see happen is that it's going to be a little bit like the Seattle Pilots, where they're going to try to add on to this stadium very quickly to stay in town. And I don't know. It's a mess.
Yeah. Interestingly, my Uber driver taking me to the airport today is on a quest with his daughter to get to all 30 ballparks. So we had a lovely baseball conversation back to the airport. And he said, oh, I guess I'm never going to get to see the A's in Oakland. I guess I'll go to Vegas. And I was like, don't be so sure about that.
Don't be so sure.
So I don't know where they're going to land, but Manfred needs to get things under control and do something, because this just ain't it.
You get that right. This has been a really great discussion. We've been going here for 90 minutes. It's been fantastic to talk to everybody here about convention talk, baseball talk, everything that's going on. But let's talk about next week, Monday, August 19th at 7 p.m. Eastern. We are going to have Jerry Grillo here with us. Jerry is the author of a new book called Big Cat, The Life of Baseball Hall of Famer Johnny Mize. Jerry's an interesting cat on Facebook, cool guy. He's going to be very entertaining. I think he's also going to be very, very informative, and you're not going to want to miss it. One more thing. If you're watching this after the fact and you are a hardcore baseball fan, you need to join the Society for American Baseball Research, the premier baseball community, offering an amazing baseball buffet of options to explore your fandom. SABR boasts more than 35 different research committees and over 80 regional chapters and innumerable opportunities to connect with baseball minds across the world. For more information, go to saber.org/join today. So for everybody in this room, this has been a great conversation. We're going to do this again next week, the 19th at 7 p.m. And like I always say at the end of a meeting, let's get everybody out of here. We'll see you next week.